Hey guys, it is Hart going to be breaking down this 9 game NBA slate here on DraftKings, going through some of my favorite early look core plays, game by game breakdown, and then building a potential lineup with my lineup process. So if you guys are new to the channel, hit that like button and subscribe. Check out my price picks video that should be coming out later today. We went 3-1 yesterday on a nice little 5-1 streak there. And yeah, I'll see you guys in this breakdown and lineup build. Nice 9 game slate here. Before we get into it, just make sure to follow me on my free Patreon link down below. That's where I go more in depth, go over the key injury news, game by game breakdown, all that good stuff. As you can see, is in here. A bunch of good stuff to help you guys out for the slate of the night. So yeah, going over my breakdown here. We're going to start off with Phoenix and Charlotte. So Phoenix here, Kevin Durant is now in. So this really takes away any interest for me on this side. Sure, could you still take a shot on Devin Booker at 8,900? Yeah, I mean he's going to be playing his normal minutes now. But the rest of the guys, Aiton, Chris Paul, even like a Koji campaign, there's just really no interest for me on this side with Kevin Durant, just with the usage he consumes, even though he will be on a minutes limit. So with him there, it really takes out any interest from me on, excuse me, the Sun side. It really just makes them all kind of just more contrarian options. If you just really wanted to get different from the field. If Josh Okogie starts, sure you could take a shot at him. He's been playing great minutes. Expect a huge drop in usage, especially his shots, unless he is on fire. But as I said, really no interest. Terrence Ross is out, so maybe that's just a little bit more minutes for a guy like Campaign off the bench. Maybe a few on Damian Lee, but yeah, not really interested in Phoenix. On the Charlotte side, a lot of interest. It just you hope this game stays close now with the addition of Kevin Durant on the other side. So Terry Rozier, it's kind of the same breakdown with without Lamelo Ball. He's gonna have the minutes. He's gonna have the shot attempts. It really just comes down to can he hit a shot and will he get some of the peripheral stats. That's really it. If you think yes, 7,200 is way too cheap for him. If you think no, then you fade him. PJ Washington is questionable. If he's in, or it looks like he's doubtful, so we'll probably get the starting lineup of Terry, Kelly, Hayward, Williams, and Dennis Smith Jr. And with that being said, I think Kelly Oubre might be my favorite play here at 6,500. Minutes did jump up to 28. We know he's super aggressive. He's going to shoot the ball a ton. As we can go back here to kind of like mid-December when he was last playing. He was playing close to 40 minutes a game, shooting the ball close to 20 times a game. And he had some very solid games. He could reach mid 40s, high 40s, close to 50, depending on how he's shooting. But yeah, I think right now he's going to be my favorite play there at 6,500 alongside Terry Rozier. If you think this game stays close, Hayward just more of a secondary option. It was the same thing with Mark Williams for me. Dennis Smith Jr. is also going to be a very solid value play here. Should be playing 30 minutes. He's a guy that can stuff the stat sheet. Not going to go out there and score like 20, 25 points, but he'll get 10 to 15, get you a couple rebounds, couple assists, some steals, all that good stuff. So at 5,100, I think he makes for a very solid value play. And then Nick Richards, just a fine tournament GPP value play at 4,000, should play close to 20 minutes. If Mark Williams gets a foul trouble, this game goes out, he could see a few extra minutes. So he's always there. And then I will mention Bryce McGowan's. He's kind of the backup guard role now behind Terry and Dennis Smith Jr. So he should probably be in line for, I'd say, 15 minutes. So it's a flat minimum price tag. And if this game blows out, he could be in line for more. He could be a sneaky value play for tonight. I will mention that. Moving on to Chicago and Detroit. Chicago, really no standouts for me once again. Everyone's kind of priced about right. I do like, DeRozan's price tag. It's just the shot attempts are all over the place for these guys. So for that reason, there's more strong secondary options with, DeMar DeRozan being my favorite. Rest of the team, the value. Kobe White solid 23 minutes. He'd probably be my favorite value play just because he's a ceiling with his shots. He's a pretty good shooter, but otherwise, Beverly's there, Caruso's there. They're fine plays. They should see both mid 20s minutes. Drummond's a guy playing the backup center run. He could definitely go off in 15 minutes. So you could definitely take a shot on him at 3,500. He is a very interesting GPP option. Moving on to Detroit, Bogdan is in. Ivy's back. So we'll probably get the starting lineup of Bogdan, Ivy, Hayes, Wiseman, and then I would assume they'll probably bring Magruder off the bench. Or excuse me, they'll put him in the starting lineup. With that starting lineup, I mean, they're all just like strong secondary plays. No real standouts to me. Like, sure, Bogdan can go for 40. He probably will see mid 30s minutes. He's pretty score independent. Ivy, He has been seeing 30 minutes the past 2 games. Obviously, he's missed a couple games here, but there is that shot. He only gets like mid 20s minutes, so he's a little bit risky. I'd say he'd be my favorite one. Killian Hayes is okay. We know he has a ceiling, but he's just a terrible shooter. He also got 4 steals and 2 blocks last game. That really, really helped out his fantasy score. So right now, my only interest is going to be Jaden Ivey, followed by Wiseman and Marvin Bagley. I think they both look really solid here. Bagley should come off the bench. He came off the bench last game, played 24 minutes, but it was super productive. Super productive 28 minutes last game. Now it's hard to trust his production because he is a guy that is not getting a ton of minutes. But if you want to ride the hot streak, you can with him. I like James Wiseman. Saw 27 minutes. He's been productive as well. Vooch is a big player, so they're going to need both of them to guard Vooch. So I do like both of them. Right now, I'm going to go with Wiseman, but I do like playing both of them. In terms of the other guys, let's pull up here. Hamidou Diallo, 4,600. Now with those other guards back, he probably drops back down to around 20-ish minutes. So at that price point, don't really love him unless he gets like a random start. Same thing with Burks, going to be coming off the bench most likely. But if he starts, sure you can get to him. Magruder, 3,300. If he does start, yeah, he looks okay. Maybe sees 20, 25 minutes at most. Right now, it's really just going to be Ivy or Wiseman for me, followed by Marvin Bagley. Moving on to Cleveland and Boston. On the Cleveland side, everyone's kind of just priced about right, which means they're all just kind of secondary options for me. If you kind of land on them, Mitchell, Garland, they all seem fair. They have upside in GPPs. Maybe I prefer Garland a little bit more just because of that price discount. Mobley's kind of priced up a little bit too expensive for me. Same with Jared Allen. Kind of makes them all kind of a little bit of contrarian plays. Levert should see around 20-ish minutes. His minutes have gone down a little bit recently. Rubio's there. You can always take a dart throw in him, but I don't feel great about it. And then Seti will be like that third guy in the rotation. They're running a pretty tight rotation right now, so it obviously means good minutes for the starters, but it just doesn't feel nice putting them in your lineup or going out of your way to put them in your lineup. Boston should be a great matchup here. Obviously, a tough matchup. I like Tatum. With Brown coming back, it does, I guess, hurt his ceiling a little bit. But as we see, he's averaging 52.5 fantasy points per game on the season. He should be in line to play huge, huge minutes, and he's had some disappointing games when he's been chalked the past 2 games. So I like locking him in as my spin up for tonight. Hopefully, past 2 games and Brown back should keep a lot of people off him. I do expect him to have a very solid game here. And I have a good amount of interest in Brown, a guy that should be playing close to 40 minutes, a guy who's score independent, but he does have a very solid ceiling. So I have a good amount of interest in both of them. Brogdon, White, Smart, they're all just, contrarian plays. I prefer Smart just because he starts. But I expect a shot attempts to drop back down to around that 10 mark. So he's just more of a, random contrarian option there. Robert Williams, I do have interest in him, playing close to 30 minutes a game now. We know he's upside. It's just kind of random when it happens, but 5,200 is a great price for him. And that's really it. Moving on to Philadelphia and Miami, we got a rematch here. I think Embiid and Harden both still look great. Harris, Maxey, both are very strong value plays in that 5K range. And sure, you can land on Melton, but his minutes are very up and down. So right now, I like sticking with the main 4 guys. They all seem like strong plays at their price tags. Moving on to Miami. No real standouts for me. You can get back to Jimmy. Like he loves that revenge game narratives. He did great against him last game. 9 of 14, super efficient. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes for another 45 here. He just really likes punishing his old teams. Bam, 8,200, just more of a contrarian play. Obviously, there's that risk of foul trouble guarding Embiid, but he's definitely there. Hero has some upside. It's just he's been terrible shooting. Hard to trust him. I like Kevin Love as like an interesting 5K play. The minutes haven't been like fantastic, but as you can see in that game versus Charlotte, he easily got you there, 38 fantasy points in 26 minutes. So he's more of those like interesting random plays. If you kind of land on him, it's like, well, it could work out. Rest of the team, I think my favorite play would be Victor Oladipo. Only seeing 20 minutes right now, but maybe he sees a few more. At 4,500, I think he'd be my favorite play to take a shot on this Miami side. Moving on to Brooklyn and the Knicks. On the Brooklyn side, I talked about it yesterday in my video. I liked pretty much the whole starting 5 just because of the minutes they're playing. And as we can see, 37 minutes for Mikal. He's their clear number 1 option right now. Dinwiddie's kind of the number 2 option alongside Cam Johnson. He was great as well. Claxton was fantastic. He played another game with 30-plus minutes, had a huge blocks and steals game. Cam Thomas, obviously more of the score independent one coming off the bench. And then Cam Johnson's there, 5,300, played 30 minutes. He was pretty productive as well, 4 steals, which obviously helped out his score. But yeah, I like them all once again. DFS is an okay value here at 4,100, playing about 30 minutes. But right now, my eye is really just on the main three guys. A little bit interested in Cam Johnson, but I think people are going to chase him because of his box scores and not realize he had 2 steals and then 4 steals. It really helped out his score there. He's a little bit too score independent for me, but I really like Mikal Bridges there. Very strong play there. Same thing with Didwitty. I think Claxton at 6,400 is very interesting. So I like all three. Right now, I think I'm going to put in Mikal Bridges just because I think he is the best matchup for the Knicks, or excuse me, against the Knicks. On the New York side, Randall Brunson, two very strong plays. Barrett, it's just the minutes, right? Like his minutes are slowly creeping down, which you don't like to see. Thibodeau has been fine with pretty much like limiting his minutes or benching him in certain spots. So he's just a very risky GPP option. Josh Hart just not seen enough minutes for me, even though he's been productive. And I do like Mitchell Robinson here. He has a ceiling. He should play close to 30 minutes if he's not in foul trouble. As you can see, pretty much 30 or more in the past three. So I do really like him right now. But what do we see if I get to him? And then quickly is a decent value play. He's been productive recently, so you can definitely land on him at 4,900. I don't mind that at all. I think he'd probably be my favorite alongside the two main guys. I do really like Randall here. Once again, he's still had some pretty floor games besides that one versus Washington. Kind of just averaging 40 fantasy points per game. But we know he's a huge ceiling. Great matchup here versus the Nets. We just saw what Giannis did to them last night. So I do like Randall a good amount. So for right now, I will throw him in there as one of my spend ups. Moving on to the Lakers and OKC. Obviously, LeBron's still out. Anthony Davis is way too cheap here. They mentioned that he will play on this back-to-back, so we don't have to worry about him sitting out. So it's pretty much the same thing as yesterday. Schroeder looks pretty solid. Vanderbilt's price up to 4,900. I think a lot of people are going to be off of him. He did not play well. Could have played a little bit better, but he's okay. Beasley, I think he still looks decent. The minutes are there. It's just he wasn't really productive. Kind of bad in that first quarter. Reeves, I wouldn't be surprised if he's like 40% owned, even though he played 27 minutes, was 5 of 8. So that was kind of a ceiling game from Reeves there. I don't want to chase that. Hachimura, 20 minutes. They're just splitting a bunch of minutes to all these bench guys. Like Troy Brown played 26. Mo Bamba played 1. He didn't even get in the lineup. They went with Wyndon Gabriel. So not a lot of interest for me besides kind of Schroeder and Anthony Davis and maybe Beasley. Moving on to OKC here. On the OKC side, Giddey looks decent. It's just the minutes, right? Like he got benched. The minutes are all over the place for these OKC guys. So I don't trust it. If you want to trust it, they should be pretty low owned. Giddey should be in line for a very solid matchup. Same thing with Jalen Williams. I think he'd be my favorite play. It seems like his minutes are the most consistent recently. Lou Dort only saw 21 minutes, so there's really no rhyme or reason with these OKC guys of who's going to be playing and who's not going to. The coach kind of sucks. So right now, I think I'm going to take out Reno for just right now. I'm going to throw in Jalen Williams because I do like the matchup. He did great against him last time they played. Obviously, I think he had like 6 steals, but it's just the minutes, right? He's going to be aggressive offensively. He can get you assists and rebounds, and the minutes seem the most secure and safe on him. So it's 6,200. I do like him a good amount in a fast-paced game versus the Lakers. Moving on to Orlando and Milwaukee. Orlando side, it's kind of the same breakdown every game for them. Fultz's probably my favorite play at 6,200. Wendell's decent. Paolo finally had a good game, but it's just hard to trust him shooting 10 of 18. He got to the free throw line a ton too, so just not the best matchup here versus the Bucks. Yeah, I mean, you can land on Mo, you can land on Cole Anthony or Suggs, but you just don't feel great. Milwaukee side, Giannis looks solid. He was very low owned last game, went for 60. Drew Holiday still priced too much for me. Same with Bobby Portis, only saw 16 minutes. Middleton priced up right now as well. So really no standouts for me on the Milwaukee side there. Kind of priced about right or too pricey for me. Moving on to Memphis, John Morant coming off a triple-double. I think he looks very solid here in a great matchup. Same thing with Bane, same thing with Jaren Jackson Jr. All strong secondary options for me. Clark Tillman, they're both there. No real need to get to them. Moving on to Houston. It's just hard to trust these guys coming off a back-to-back. Wouldn't be surprised if they did rule out like KPJ or Green. But as of right now, they're both in. So with them both being in right now, like my only interest is once again only going to be Jalen Green there. Um, and everyone else is just kind of there. Moving on to the Pelicans and Portland. For the Pelican side, Ingram, I think he's still a little bit too cheap. Same thing with CJ. They really haven't flashed upside recently. Valanciunas might be out. If he's out, we could get a start for Hernan Gomez. So right now, I do like throwing in Hernan Gomez just because like last game he got a DNP. They went Jackson Hayes. It really made no sense because Hernan Gomez was the clear backup for the past few games. But yeah, they went with Jackson Hayes. So we'll have to wait and see who starts there. But I'm just gonna throw in Hernan Gomez as a placeholder and wait and see what happens with that JVOD news. Obviously, it's the last game, which sucks because it's 2 hours before the other games or 2 hours later after the other games start. So if you want to be sharp, I'd say play for that news that JVal might be out and Hernan Gomez or Hayes starts. And if you want to risk it, I'd say, just play like JVal's going to start. So let's wait and see. Um, Josh Richardson's questionable as well. He's been starting. So it could be a lot of guys could be in line for increased roles here, like a Murphy, like a Herb Jones, like a Dyson Daniels with, Alvarado being ruled out. So I have a good amount of interest in this Falcon side. Should be a bump for CJ with no Alvarado. His minutes should go up to be at least mid 30s, closer to 40s. Ingram, they're going to have to rely on him heavily as well. So I have a good amount of interest in this Pelican side. We just kind of have to wait. Hopefully, we get news before the lock. On the Portland side, Dame almost 12K. Don't like that. I talked about in my price fix video. I'm going to fade him. I'm going to take his under on points, under on fantasy score, and it worked out great there. Now that his price tag went up, just don't love that. Grant's there. He's fine. Reddish, Eubanks, Little, Sharp, Thibault, this whole group, they're all going to split time, minutes. It's just I don't feel great about any of those value plays really. And that's going to be the kind of the game by game breakdown. Now to finish out the rest of this lineup here. Let's see here. We got Bridges, we got Tatum, we got Williams, Davis, Hernan Gomez. So not a lot left over, 3,900. Let's see if we can make this work. Might have to take out one of these expensive like wings and guards. So 3,900. Let's see here. I don't think it's going to work 3,900. So I think right now, going to take out Jalen Williams. We'll go to point guard. Actually, I think we're going to take out Bridges. We're going to go Jalen Williams. 4,800 left over here, which gives us some room to kind of work around. So 4,800 left over. You could give to Gabe Vincent. Don't love that. I think I'm going to throw in quickly there. I don't mind that play. Shooting guard 47. We get to Isaiah Joe, but his minutes were down as well. He's one of those guys. His minutes are all over the place. I do like taking a shot on, or we could get to one of the Pelicans guards. They could be in line for one of them to start with Josh Richardson potentially being ruled out. So I guess we'll just build for that potential. So we'll throw Troy Murphy in there for right now, or excuse me, Trey Murphy. We're left with 5,100 left over. You can get to Dennis Smith Jr., who's a strong play there on the Charlotte side. With no LaMelo Ball, he should start. And then 5,200 left over. You could get to Adort, who I wouldn't mind. It's just, will he get benched? We don't really know. Vanderbilt, so if you want to get to him, you get to Horford, Brandon Clark, Wiseman. We could still get to him at 4,800. So, yeah, a good amount of options. I think right now, let's just land on Wiseman. So that does it for the potential lineup. Obviously, there's a decent amount of news we have to wait for to see if this works out. So if you guys want any updates, make sure to follow me on Twitter, follow my free Patreon. I'll post updates on there. Hit that like button. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.